Caroline Leclerc is the Assistant Deputy Minister for Partnerships for Innovation in Development, n'est-ce pas?
Partnership for Development Innovation.
Oh, but Development Innovation, merci.
I can do both.
Désolé. And so we're very pleased to have you with us this afternoon. Caroline has also been is a member of the Governance Committee, co-chair of the Governance Committee of the Fund, but has been a member of the Governance Committee for some years before her current position as well. So she knows us well, and it's an honor and a pleasure to have this conversation with you. Now, this isn't exactly a conversation because we have a bunch of things we need to say, but how about I start off with a few remarks about what struck me about the results and the conversations over the past couple of days, and I'll try not to turn my head so that you can hear me properly. So there is no doubt in my mind that the results of the Canadian International Food Security Research Fund, of your work, are beyond outstanding, and that you've contributed to improving food security, innovations for improving food security. Certainly availability of food through productivity, access to food through improved income, improved nutrition, and the overall stability of that food security, which were the 4 pillars of the Canadian International Food Security Research Fund's approach. You have contributed tremendously to this. The scientific breakthroughs from understanding what's causing lethal yellowing disease in coconuts, to a 5-in-1 vaccine, to an inexpensive and thermostable vaccine for an important disease of small ruminants, to nano encapsulated treatment of soft fruit to prevent rot, are all these kinds of technological breakthroughs. But then also, in addition to that, improvements and combinations and new innovative ways of combining agricultural practices that were already known, like microdosing, and taking advantage of indigenous vegetables and scaling those as a viable crop. Techniques, products, tools, ICTs, radio programs. You can't hear me. Good. Well, now you can. There we go. So, so congratulations on the results of the fund. Certainly, the other thing that really struck me and is really, at this point, having just heard the conversation around gender in the fund, is how the fund has transformed the lives of women. 86% of the projects in the fund improved farm income for struggling farmers, half of them women. And together, your projects have enabled women like Winnie, who spoke to us earlier today so evocatively, and hundreds of thousands more like her. Hundreds of thousands more like her. I don't often have the opportunity in my job to talk about how research has contributed to changing the lives of millions of people. You have helped lift more than 1 million women and men farmers out of poverty. These kinds of significant contributions, not only to income, but to nutrition and nutritional education, have been very important for the lives of women and girls and men around the world. Les recherches du Fonds.
The fund's research have created 411 scientific articles, so it's a very significant production on what works and what works doesn't work as well. So we had discussions over the past few days on the challenges that we have faced in our research, and 36 innovations were deployed or scaled up, and in 10 countries we were able to change policies to improve food safety and improve nutrition and agriculture or conditions for homestead farmers. The program contributed to the innovation system as well, and this is responsible of a development program. The development systems are very important to help build sustainable improvements of conditions of living. The innovation system in countries are strengthened with expert frameworks, and all the students that were trained, which for more than 400 students, 235 are women. And today and yesterday, we had presentations by some of them, Hussein, Crystal, and Alejandra, who are here.
And I guess the other thing that has really struck me is the increase in access to knowledge for farmers. So not only have we found innovations and put them in the hands of farmers and improved the lives of farmers through those, it's the access to knowledge. And that changes how farmers can go about pursuing more knowledge and pursuing other innovations that may not even be the result of this fund. So that's what I took away from
C'est
the
vraiment
CIFSRF.
impressionnant. Donc, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Do you hear me well with this microphone? Yes? So, good afternoon. Hello, everybody. I'm Caroline Leclerc. I'm Assistant Deputy Minister. I was really trying to find my title in French, Assistant Deputy Minister, Partnership for Development Innovation at Global Affairs Canada. And we are partners of CIFSRF. Just for French, we will just call it the fund. So we are very proud of this, but also it's with a heart that we arrive at the end of this project that truly taught me a lot. I see the team here, the team that I worked with for several years on the fund, and I'm very pleased to put a face to the partners who were involved in the project, but that I never had the opportunity to meet. So, hi everybody, I'm very pleased to see your faces, and I want to thank you for traveling to come to this event. And I'm not at all surprised that this event was very successful. I heard that the conversation were very rich, in-depth, interactive, and I'm not surprised that they were also innovative.
The opportunity to get a virtual tour of someone's homestead in Cambodia, and you got to see their fish hatchery. So that's not the sort of thing that happens at Global Affairs Canada, but it's certainly something that happens in a partnership with IDRC. So I think that's pretty cool. I had the great pleasure to sit on the governance committee of CIFSRF for a couple of years, actually, and I wanted to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned during CIFSRF and the evolution of CIFSRF, because it did learn and evolve as it went along, and that's what was a great thing about it, is that as we were doing this, we sort of had our own haha moments and thought, here's a better way to do it next time. So through the various calls and the various phases, so we were able to learn also, even us people in government. So the first lesson that may seem obvious, but you always, when you see it in action, you realize the power of partnerships. Really, and different partnerships, new partnerships, private and public partnerships, but also partnerships with beneficiaries and with academic institutions. That really has brought a whole wealth of innovation and intelligence to CIFSRF. The second I wanted to mention is obviously the importance of having locally anchored solution, but also really to have participatory research. So it wasn't some person sitting somewhere in a university thinking, that would be a really cool question to answer. It was making sure that the solution we were looking for was to a problem that mattered to someone that's poor and vulnerable in a developing country. so that the solution that emerged could be applicable and be of benefit for people. The third one is about what's actually evidence of innovation and scaling up. We see these projects all the time that, oh no, you know, we're doing them here and we're scaling them up. It's just because we're doing the same thing in some other country. And that was one of the learnings of phase 2 is how do you actually scale up? And another piece that we stumbled upon as we were moving along and that we had to improve on is that turns out research and innovation isn't always inclusive. It does tend sometimes to promote the voices of men, and that you have to actively be very attentive to make sure that the voices of women are included from the get-go, not only as beneficiaries, but from the get-go in the project. So those are some of the lessons that I've drawn from CIFSRF, and I have to say, when I started sitting on the governance committee, I was in another position. I was DG for food security and environment, and you know, if you're going to become, if you're going to apply for a job that's called for partnerships for development innovation, having the benefit of sitting on the governance board of CIFSRF sort of makes you a shoo-in for the job. So I have to say,
good to know.
Thank you. Thank you for making me a better person, a better person for this job. Do you want to?
One of the things, the conversation that came up yesterday and that Frank spoke to quite eloquently this morning, but I wanted to touch on, it's, of course, we both work in different parts of Canada's official aid apparatus. And so our focus is on helping those of you who are living in and struggling with issues in the Global South. But this partnership, this program actually had quite a lot of benefits for Canada. And Frank spoke of some of them this morning, and you may want to come in on a couple of these as well, but we have supported 20 Canadian universities and other organizations, including private sector organizations, to engage in research in agricultural innovation focused on development. And that wasn't happening to the same level before the fund. So that was a real benefit, I think, to Canada. And the graduate students, well, we spoke about them before. About 1/6 of the students were Canadian, more than half of them were women, and this is building the next generation of innovators in agriculture and development. Whether they focus on the Global South, whether they focus on Canada, their careers are important assets for Canada. And the partnerships themselves between Canadians and international researchers have opened up, well, first of all, contributed to the richness and the scalability of the solutions, but also created new relationships, new friendships, new opportunities, and helped Canadian universities in particular brand themselves as international or grow their existing international brand, which is essential in a very competitive global research marketplace. So those are some benefits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm conscious of the time, and I know you guys have been here for a couple of days. As we're closing this session, I wanted to just underline a couple of things to keep in mind for the future. I don't quite believe that this is the end of CIFSRF, because these projects and innovations that, I mean, you've spoken about, they're proven, some of them are being applied, some of them are being scaled up. And I do want to underline the importance of sharing lessons beyond the outputs of CIFSRF, beyond the Exenol and the kits for farmers, and there's all the knowledge and lessons that were drawn, and events like this really matter. And we were just talking earlier that we could actually do an entire day on gender, an entire day on scaling up. So I think please continue to share what you've learned from CIFSRF. Also, I encourage you to continue to be very intentional about the networks that you are creating to actually promote the projects and find the opportunities to offer these solutions to a broader population and to really see them scaled up. And you were talking about this, Dominique, in terms of sort of Canada's visibility or profile internationally, but really, at the end of the day, what CIFSRF also leaves us with is people-to-people connections. People-to-people connections that will stay and that really make all of us true global citizens, but that are able to act locally. So again, I really want to congratulate the CIFSRF team, tous ceux qui ont été impliqués dans les projets.
All those who were involved in projects and all those who show interest in learning, I would like to congratulate you and thank you for being with us. Thank you, Carolyn. And the importance of relationships, the friendships that were strengthened or created through the program is very important.
Forward from here, after having worked hard on agricultural innovation for 10 years together, we know that the world is changing even more perhaps than it was 10 years ago. Climate change is much less a thing that people worry about the future and much more a thing that is happening now. Protectionism and political changes around the world are transforming trading relationships, are transforming alliances around the world, and that's creating all kinds of change that has ripples back down into the rural areas and making it harder for the poor to get out of poverty. In particular, we know this because we have seen the recent uptick of about 100 million people becoming food secure who were not, food insecure, who were not previously food insecure because of conflict, because of insecurity, because of drought, because of floods. And this trend, after 10 years of downward trend in the number of hungry, it's not going in the right direction. So the need for innovation, the need for partnerships, the need for thinking about making a difference at scale and not being complacent is ever more present. And as we look forward, knowing that part of the solution to building that resilience and that ability to develop, move forward, prosper, is getting at the deep-seated, deep-rooted inequalities in the world, and particularly the inequalities between women and men, and knowing that we don't have the solutions, we know that there's an innovation agenda ahead of us, right?
Très bien dit.
Un dernier mot?
Last word, perhaps? Yes, last word. It's been a pleasure to chat with you, Caroline, and to be able to reflect on how we can really showcase the results and build upon the results and progress. I have many thanks to express.
In one of those awards shows, needless to say, there are a lot of people that we need to thank. I would first, again, like to acknowledge the Algonquin people on whose unceded lands we are meeting today, and we are grateful to them for that. We need to thank the Ottawa Conference and Event Center, Willow Group for logistics, Ren Media, Ren Media and LMB for IT, webcast, and translation. Merci. Greg Teckles, who's been going around taking astonishingly good photographs. We look forward to seeing those in various media going forward. Les équipes, CRDI.
the teams, IDRC, Global Affairs. Not all members of the teams are represented here. Renaud Deplan and Frank Schneider, who have accompanied us not only the last 2 days, but all along the last 10 years. Thank you so much to you and your teams. From IDRC, Santiago, Daniel from Communication, Tiffany, Rebecca, Jen, Monique, and Fabienne, who have done incredible work in the last 2 days and also in preparation for this conference. And also our volunteer rapporteur from Global Affairs and IDRC. One quick announcement. One of our colleagues at IDRC who've worked in the last 10 years in CIFSRF, Innocent Pitoré, who's here with us from our regional office team. She will retire. She's leaving us. So I take this opportunity to thank Innocent for his work. He's joined IDRC in 1997. We've been working together, he's been working for IDRC for 21 years, and we've worked together for about 12 years. He's worked in 5 different programs at IDRC. With his background in agronomy, ecology, and environment, it was a perfect mix to support us in our efforts. From the very beginning in Dakar and career coming to an end in Nairobi. Thank you, Innocent, for your contribution.
Okay, a few more. Thank you. Et merci pour la possibilité de remercier.
Thank you for this opportunity to thank Innocent.
Scientific advisors. Cam was here over part of the, if you're still here, thank you, Cam, and others, and governance committee members. CIFSRF project teams, there are many of you here, but many of you not here. Stakeholders, thank you. The students, Alejandra, Hussein, Crystal, who are here, as well as the hundreds of others who aren't. We had the very great privilege of hearing from 3 producers, 3 farmers, Anna from Bolivia, Winnie from Uganda, and Sautao from Cambodia. Thank you. You took such long journeys to get here, challenging journeys for some of you, and you gave us the great privilege of hearing firsthand how the research can make a difference in your lives. I'm also thanking the external panelists, the discussants, who brought much needed external views so that we weren't just talking to ourselves about CIFSRF, but had some challenge from outside. And to all of you here. Thank you very much for your work. Thank you very much for taking 2 days out of your lives to focus on the great success and all of the lessons that we can continue to draw from this work. Bon voyage, safe travels home. Thank you very much.